So, welcome again, everyone. I am Lisa Armstrong. I am the Global Seminar Coordinator, otherwise known as the advisor for this program. Just letting you know, I am recording it, but it will only be shared with students who registered for this session rather than publicly accessible. And I mainly let you know because any questions you voice will be included in the recording, unless you ask us to take them out, but that's sort of delays us getting the recording to anyone else. But you can also just write them in the chat and I will voice them for you and we'll answer them on the record. I am also joined by two individuals that are going to speak with you as well. So I'll let them introduce themselves. Professor Bigham.
Hi, I know how to use technology. I'm Professor Joe Bigham. Nice to meet you all virtually. I've been a longstanding lecturer for Six College, continuing lecturer. I'm in the middle of the 13th year now or so. So, quite a while. And yeah, this is actually my first time around working with global seminars. So I'm really excited to experience this with you all.
Fantastic. And Andrew.
Hi, everyone. My name's Andrew. I work for the organization that partners with UC San Diego, AIFS Abroad. I'll be your enrollment manager, so I'll be helping you through the application process, getting you approved, all that good stuff, and just answering any of kind of your like internship specific questions on the front end. I'll be going over the process a little bit later about what that looks like, but just wanted to say hi.
And so I'm going to get started, just do a little bit of an intro of what global seminars are, and then I'll turn it over to the faculty to talk about the MEET program, the courses, and what you'll be doing for 8 weeks. And then we'll talk about how to apply. And finally, we'll leave financial aid and finances to the end. That's just so that we can fit all of these topics in. All right. So let me share my screen one more time. Just touch base on some global seminar basics. So first of all, here's the full global seminar staff here at UC San Diego. I am the primary coordinator for this program, but you might find yourselves talking to some of my colleagues. As you can see, we are a small but mighty team. And I want to let you know, I studied abroad twice in college, so this work is near and dear to my heart. I found it to be one of the most impactful learning experiences of my life. And I feel so lucky to be helping students wanting to study abroad and have their own global experiences. The GS program was created in 2008 with the goal of increasing accessibility to study abroad. That's why, aside from the course prerequisites, and actually I don't believe this program has any of those, GS requires only that you be in good standing. In terms of academics, that means a minimum GPA of 2.0, because if you can graduate with that, then you should also be able to study abroad with that. And in good judicial standing means that participants won't have any major red flags on that record. And I'll talk more about that later. With one exception, you do not need any language skills, any foreign language skills to be accepted. And this program is in Dublin anyway. I will talk more about financial aid and scholarships in depth towards the end, but for now, just be reassured that they are available. Aid can apply and there are scholarships. The seminar in Global Seminar is because of the small class size. Most of our programs have a maximum of 28, and this one is a maximum of only 20. So that's a really nice change from the large lecture halls that many of you have come to know and love here at UC San Diego. In addition, that small class size gives participants the opportunity to really connect with the faculty who is guiding you through this program. And of course, this one gives you the opportunity to really engage with the culture because you are going to be interning at local organizations. All right, so most global seminars are 5 weeks, but Dublin internships are the exception. You can't really do a proper internship in 5 weeks. So this one is 8. All participants, rather than being during only summer session 1 or 2, this one covers both. It's 8 weeks long, so it starts the same time as summer session one, I think June 28th, the 29th, and goes all the way through all of July and most of August. Again, up to actually 20 classmates. Oh, you will all take the same 2 UCSD classes, they're CAT courses, on top of your internship. So that's something to be prepared for. And Professor Brigham will talk about that momentarily. As I said, classes are in English. This one is not an exception. The last thing I want to point out is the application process. I'll get into it more later, but it is first come, first served on our end. So as soon as you submit an application, that spot is yours unless we determine that for some reason you aren't eligible, which almost never happens anyway. So don't have to stress out about hearing back from us. As soon as you hit that submit, you can relax a little bit. Okay, just wait for me to process it. All right, and with that, I will actually turn it over to the faculty.
Howdy, everybody. I hope your quarters, it looks like everybody here is UCSD, lots of 6 college people, and somebody from Muir. I hope your quarter's going great. I know you're in the middle of the wonderful midterm period and all of that kind of insanity. But yeah, I want to kind of speak a little bit to both of the courses, both CAT 125 and 124. This is a really interesting and I'm kind of excited for this global seminar because there's a history to these two courses, 124 and 125. Some of you may know 6 College, one of our core values is getting experiential learning. That means that, all of our learning doesn't have to occur just in classrooms, just, in groups of 300, that kind of thing, but rather being out there in the world is so much of learning. And it's where, you go from just talking about these ideas to seeing how they're engaged with, to see how professionals think and act. And so CAT 124 is the internship portion. And then CAT 125 was initially designed to give those who have completed their internship the chance to present their work through a variety of different means. Now, since then, as just kind of a side note, the two have actually been separated. It's no longer required that you do 124 and 125 in person, or if you're taking the class in person at UCSD. But that's why I like this global seminar, because it kind of gets back to the original purpose of these two courses working together. So, like I said, CAT 124 is essentially the internship aspect itself. And what we'll do is we'll meet about 1 hour per week across the 8 weeks and use that as an opportunity to both discuss just professional environments as a whole, what it means to, work in whatever kinds of office you are placed in, what kinds of internship you're placed in, and just having an opportunity for you to talk about your experiences, to share your experiences with others, to ask questions, frankly, sometimes like, is this, how do I navigate these communication issues that I'm experiencing, or how do I make sure that I'm attending to all of my responsibilities, those kinds of things. And then we'll also have some readings that we'll discuss as well that covers some of these same ideas, that cover, kind of aspects of your multicultural experience. What does it mean to work abroad? And particularly for those of you who haven't had a chance to leave the US before, right? Being able to experience culture in all its multitude of forms, from work life to just everyday living to traveling around and getting to experience the deep, rich history of Ireland. So I would say that's kind of in a nutshell what we do with 124. We think about all of this professional work. In 125, what we do in that class is we think about these experiences and how do you communicate those experiences to others? So this idea of public rhetoric. How do you present your own work to other people, to maybe to, if you were to, after this internship, apply for another formal working position somewhere else, how do you create an effective personal statement that speaks to those experiences, but also speaks to who you are, right? Um, those qualities that you feel like are internal to you that don't necessarily get expressed through, let's say, a resume or something like that. We'll also work on, presenting your experiences in other media. So thinking about it in terms of building, a web page, kind of like and I don't necessarily want you to become, webmasters in this sense, but how do you present your experiences through effective uses of images, through effective use of video, and also even too just being able to present on these ideas in a way that's concise, effective, but then also authentic to you, right? How can you share these experiences with different audiences? And so those are essentially the two components of CAT 124 and 125. 124 will be primarily, we'll meet for a seminar about 1 hour a week, still hammering out the schedule for what that will be like. And then 125 will primarily be asynchronous online material. So I'll post up video lectures covering some of these ideas. We'll have some small assignments that all build up to essentially the major assignments for the course. I think that's the whole thing in a very quick nutshell. Outside of that, I'm kind of excited. My plan is to actually meet up with you to be there for the first week, your welcome week, because I've never experienced Dublin. I'm excited to check it out for the first time. I used to play actually in an Irish music group a long time ago, and I have a number of Irish musician friends in town. So I'm looking forward to connecting with them and maybe even, being able to share their knowledge with you all too. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great experience.
Thanks so much. Did you want to share anything about the hours?
Yes. So this is the kind of really tricky part about doing something like a global seminar internship. We want to make sure that you are able to maintain both your workload for the internship and at the same time be able to complete the schoolwork as if it were part of your workload. I mean, it's the same thing that we do if you're taking classes here at UCSD and you have some sort of student workload or student work that you're doing on campus. We have to balance those things out. So my understanding is we're going to limit the internships themselves to 30 hours per week, 32 hours per week. And that way, at the moment, it's not set in stone, but you'll essentially have a Friday as your day to complete some of the asynchronous work, right? And also just to kind of give yourself a breather. I doubt we'll actually set up our synchronous meeting on Friday, but again, those kind of details are in the making. Anything else I need to cover, or you want me to,
No, that was it. I just want to add on to that. So that means you are likely to have a 3-day weekend. There's a small chance that some of the companies may need to negotiate you being there on a Friday. But keep in mind, your primary goal for being there is to work and to do this internship and study. So it's not the type of global seminar or study abroad program where you are going to have the freedom to roam all over Europe. That said, hopefully most of you will have 3-day weekends. So if you do want to plan to explore, you might be able to do that to a certain degree. That said, Dublin in summer is fantastic. Highly recommend you stick around and have some fun there. At the very least, you'll probably, was talking to the professor about having the first meeting, just the first week while he's there on that Friday, so that you don't have to rush home after one of your work days. And we're going to work with you to ensure that that day off becomes enshrined, and just make sure that the organizations and companies aren't taking just a little bit of advantage of having a young intern there. So, yeah. Any questions for the faculty about the courses or the schedule? A couple of cultural excursions will be included as well. We don't know exactly what those are, when those are until spring. But past trips have been to like the Cliffs of Moher. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. And I think there's one to Belfast as well. All right, I guess you guys are just eager for more information. Share my screen again before I'm going to talk about the application process for the global seminar side. You'll have to submit 2 applications. I'll get into that in a second. First, I just want to point out that there are many paths for study abroad at UC San Diego. So if you've never connected with our office before this session, I want to invite you to attend a Get Started info session. That's designed to give students the basics about all the types of study abroad programs that are available to you, and how to choose the right one for you, dives into finances and more. We have both in-person sessions and a Canvas course, term used loosely. But that said, if you decide that this global seminar is the one for you, it's not that you're required to complete the Get Started info session in order to submit an application. And then I also want to point out that we have a ton of diversity and identity resources. You probably can't see the list on the right very well, but that's our expandable list of menu of items. So it includes students of color, gender, sexuality, age, religion, and more. And we have a couple of other features on that website of stories. And then I also want to highlight these series of opportunities, this Exploring Your Identity, abroad. These are offered by UCEAP, and even though we're not UCEAP, UC students are welcome to attend, even if you're planning to ultimately do a different study abroad program. So all of those are linked on the study abroad website. So I encourage you to check that out. Ideally, you would feel comfortable sharing any concerns with me, but I understand, and then I can address them a little bit in context. But I know that some students prefer to gain insight online at hours I'm not working, or just in general from those who share their specific identity or sets of identities. So that's why we have this resource for you. Okay, on to the actual global seminar application for this program. First thing you're going to do is create a Tritons Abroad profile. This is available on the Study Abroad website everywhere in the top left corner. From there, you'll complete all of these other items. So the first is an AIFS application. There's going to be a link in the Tritons Abroad application that will send you over there. You have to complete both. Pretty much simultaneously, or one right after the other, because you need to be approved and finish one in order to be approved for the other. All right, so you'll also submit, and Andrew's going to talk about that AIFS application and the process for that those initial matching conversations in just a moment. So again, back to the Tritons Abroad application, you will submit an unofficial transcript. You can just get this straight off of Triton Link. It's pretty straightforward. You also need to submit a health screening form. Where you go, sometimes students choose based off of what their insurance is. You can go to Student Health Services. You can go to your primary care physician. If you go to Student Health Services, they've got your back. You just need to tell them you're doing a global seminar. And at this stage, they are going to put you on a waiting list. And then once they're not so busy with some late fall, early winter sicknesses, they will start scheduling you in December. By the way, this program does not need that travel clinic that's required for some. So if you go to, Student Health Services, just let them know what you're doing. They will have you fill out specific forms, go to an appointment. I think they can also do telehealth. And then you will upload the form that they give you signed to your Tritons Abroad application. If you decide to go to a primary care doctor, then you will print out a form that is available on the application and take it to them. You'll fill out a couple of the pages, they'll fill out the last one and sign it. One caveat, for some reason, Kaiser Permanente does not always wish to sign our form. That's fine. They have their own form. Just make sure it says study abroad. If you do want to submit your application and get that process going, what you can do is just upload a confirmation of when your appointment is, or for for student health, that you're in the queue waiting list to get an appointment in December. All right. For your passport, if you don't have one, you can upload the receipt that shows the date of when you submitted that application. If you don't have a passport yet, please apply for it. It is good for 10 years, so it is worth your while. And then, I also forgot to mention for transcript, if you are in your first year as at UC San Diego, whether it's a transfer or a freshman, then you can just upload your transcript as is. You will have to upload an updated one at the end of fall so that we can see what your UCSD GPA is. All right, moving on to the personal statement. We would like 500 words roughly. If you write too little, you probably haven't answered the prompt and I'll have to nudge you to resubmit. So just do it the first time. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure that this program is right for you, that you're right for this program. So, go ahead and just dive into that, how it impacts your academics, especially if you're in 6th college, how it impacts your future goals, particularly if you're not, or whether you're in 6th college or not. And then we also have a specific prompt for this program. We need you to confirm that you are committed to the internships. It's not a situation where you can get to whatever hours you need to meet and then you can stop going. You have to go the full 8 weeks for the hopefully 30 to 32 hours. And it can feel like a lot. So please keep that in mind when you're applying. All right, there are a series of waiver and policy forms as well. So I'm going to go over a big one about our withdrawal policy later, but there's plenty on there. And so please review those so you're aware of them and what we expect of you as a representative of UC San Diego and a participant on this program. There's also additional affairs agreement. It's super easy for you all. All you have to do is check off saying that, well, yes, I am a UC San Diego student, and I give you permission to talk to my college dean. Then we'll take it from there, confirm that you haven't been attacking anyone or burning things down, what have you. So if you have something like on your record that was like, a noise complaint from your first year in the dorms, don't worry about it. And pretty much as long as nothing is too egregious, anything where you've completed sanctions is not going to be an issue anyway. And then finally, there is a $250 non-refundable deposit. It is a deposit. It's part of that program cost, and I'll delve into that a little bit later. There are maybe a couple situations where it might be refundable. All right, so I'll turn it over to Andrew to talk about that side of the application and what happens, what the first couple steps are after you get approved.
Hi, everyone. I want to get a PowerPoint loaded here, so just bear with me. Good old PowerPoint. All right. Thumbs up from that if that works, Lisa. Okay, great. All right, cool. Well, once again, I'm Andrew. I work for AIFS Abroad. I've been with the organization for going on 7 years now. Survived the global pandemic. It was a fun time. Um, so AIFS Abroad, just as an FYI, we're like an organization. We've been doing this for about 60 years now. We work with like 400 plus universities around the United States on programs like this, on internships, study abroad, faculty-led programming. So you may have heard of us through like the grapevine, but we specifically help facilitate this program in Dublin. So often you might have to contact multiple people. It might be some people at school, it might be some people on us, but it's kind of like having like a collection of doctors at your hand. You want to tell us everything that's going on. So make sure you're telling all parties so that we're all on the same page throughout this process. That's super important because sometimes it's really easy just to like talk to one person about this, but it's really helpful because we all will fill each other in anyway. So just kind of blast out everything all and CC us all. So we're going to go over a couple different things here. If you want me to go into more depth on any particular slide, feel free to just drop something in the chat, and then Lisa can maybe interrupt my presentation, and then I can tackle that question. But let's start with the program overview. So as we kind of mentioned before, this is going to be a summer program from the end of June until close to the end of August. It is 30 to 32 hours a week summer internship. And Dublin is a great place to do it. We actually have usually 100 plus interns in Dublin every summer. So you'll get to meet some of the other students on the program as well. But you will all also be together in like the same housing and be able to connect with each other. I actually greeted this program in summer 2023. So I was at the airport helping you all and doing the pre-departure or doing the orientation and things along those lines. So if you have any specific question about like what it's like when you arrive, feel free to drop those in the chat. So why Dublin? Well, first of all, it's capital. There's a lot of cool things going on there. The food scene has been up and coming. It's super diverse, which kind of impressed me when I was there. A lot of like Brazilian population there, just from like certain visas they have. So there's like some interesting like migration and immigration things going on there as well. They have some like high-end restaurants there. So if you're a foodie, you'll probably really like just trying out some of those. The people there are very friendly and are willing to connect you and support you. That's not necessarily all locations in the world, but Dublin we have found is definitely one of the more willing to work with students. So you can look forward to that. And then it is a big tech hub. So like Apple and Microsoft have headquarters in Dublin, primarily for financial reasons, so that they don't have to get pay as many taxes. But because of that, that's actually brought in a lot of like tech startups and like tech adjacent industries. So if you have kind of an interest in getting your feet wet in that industry, this would be a really good opportunity for you to do that. Speaking of which, most of our companies are small to medium size, so you're not going to be working at a major corporate organization like Apple or Microsoft, primarily so that we have more control over your internship experience. Now, these are real companies, these are real supervisors. You very much so get hired and could get fired with these companies. So it's important that you show up as a professional for these organizations. But what's nice about working at a smaller to medium-sized organization, you get more contact with like your supervisors, the CEOs. You're doing a little bit of everything throughout the organization. So basically it's a great hands-on experience versus something more corporate. You might just be filing papers or sitting at a desk all day. So what's included with the internship program? So we guarantee you an internship in 2 of your preferred career fields. You'll have a dedicated program expert, an enrollment manager like myself that'll help you through the program. I am the Clifton Strengths guru at AIFS Abroad, so I'll probably do some coaching with you all as well on what those are. It's a positive psychology kind of personality assessment, and it's a really great tool to talk about yourself in a positive and professional manner. We'll do some resume and cover letter prep with you and some interview coaching. We'll have on-site orientations and site visits. Usually for our on-site orientation, we do at one of the local universities. So we'll have like a classroom rented out and then we'll go over kind of like the rules and just what you can expect during the program. We have a green initiative at AIFS as well. So we've been offsetting carbon emissions from planes. We're constantly figuring out new ways to promote sustainable travel. So you might hear about some more of our initiatives as we go through. Our housing is central and safe. Usually it's in an area that's very walkable, lots of grocery stores, restaurants, things along those lines. We actually have our staff like go there, visit, make sure it's good to go before we commit to any housing. And then you usually have like a common living space with like a kitchen, living room, and so on. Dublin tends to be one of our, I would say, our stronger locations for housing because there's a lot of new housing sort of complexes going up. So it does differ from year to year, but generally we've gotten really positive feedback on the housing. What's nice too with our program, there's always somebody you can call, during the process, whether it's me, your program advisor, or when you're on the ground. There's somebody that you can talk to that'll help you out. When you're actually on the ground, things could happen in the middle of the night. So we have a 24/7 hour hotline that you can call as well, and then somebody will help you. We have insurance that's included with it. Sometimes school has their own set of insurance, so you might be double insured, which is great. Lisa will probably talk about that maybe a little bit later. And then we'll also give you some feedback on your professional documents like your LinkedIn, and do some post-career development as well. So let's talk about like what can you actually do in your internship? I kind of touched on this a little bit with like the small to medium-sized organizations, but Dublin, I would say, has the most variety of internship options. So this is one of the reasons that we partnered with UCSD on this specific program. So we can do business, we can do tech if you want to do some engineering, environmental work. There's a little bit of everything for everyone. Hospitality management, fashion. I think if I recall, when I had spoke to Becca, like we had quite a variety of students doing different things. We had a student that wanted to do fashion last summer. He did fashion in Dublin, which was great. If you want to do engineering, you can do engineering. So one of the things we'll do during the internship consultation with me, I capture, I would say, an overview of what skills you really want to practice, the experiences you would like to have. So it's really helpful for us, for you to tell us what you're interested in and what you're not interested in, because then that helps kind of navigate this conversation. We're kind of like the chefs, and you tell us like what type of food you like, and then we'll create like an original dish for you. It's not necessarily like a menu of items that you're picking from. You tell us what you're looking for, and then we'll make something and create something really cool for you. So with the application process, as Lisa mentioned, there is a link attached to your UCSD application. When you click on that link, that will open up this picture you see here to create an account. I recommend using your UCSD email, just so it just keeps everything the same. You'll also want to keep using one email throughout this process as well. Don't change your emails around unless you specifically request that. But once you do complete your application, you'll have a to-do list that you need to work on for AIFS, very much so like UCSD, but ours is a little bit different and it's more focused on the internship itself. So we have info on the travel package. We need a draft resume. Home institution approval required is what UCSD is going to do on their side once you're approved by them. The internship consultation with me, and then the personal statement. This is also an essay for us, really just kind of capturing why an internship is important to you and how you see it helping your career. That really helps guide our conversation when we're on the phone. And then since we're working with multiple teams, both your advising team and then a placement team overseas, we like having this information that has a thread throughout so they know what kind of student you are and what type of opportunities you're looking for. Certain career fields as well might need work samples. So usually the more technical the career field, it's likely that we're going to need some work samples. So if you're a graphic designer, we might want to see some of your graphic design work that you've done in your coursework, or maybe you've done some stuff for an internship. If you are interested in doing something law related or journalism related, usually a writing sample is required because of the type of work that you're doing in your internship. If you ever have any questions about that specific task, reach out to me. When you do click on that task, it does outline which typical career fields and type of internships would need those type of documents. But if you ever have any questions about that or need some more guidance, I'm here for you on that. But once you submit your AIFS application and you complete those items, including your internship consultation with me, all that information, including my notes, will go to our placement director overseas, and then they'll decide which career fields that you'll be approved for based on current availability. and then also what you're qualified to do. Sometimes students might want to do an internship in something that they haven't had any experience in, or maybe it's kind of more of an interest or a hobby. That's totally okay, but certain employers prefer you actually having previous experience in that. So here's an example I had the other day of a student. Oh, they wanted to do historical and archival research, but they've never done any sort of historical or archival research before. So it's not likely they're going to get approved for that career field, because typically that tends to be a little bit more technical, and there's a specific skill set required for that. So if you ever have any questions about that, also, once again, feel free to ask me. But if you do have some experience or classwork that's pertaining, more advanced classwork, I would say, so like 200 to 300 level coursework, that's helpful in getting you approved for specific career fields as well. Once you're approved for those career fields, though, we usually offer you enrollment at that point. And then once you are enrolled into the program, then I pass you on to our program expert, Tessa, which I think, yeah, this kind of gives you the advising process and what the journey is going to look like. So once we pass you over to Tessa, your program advisor, we'll start looking at your professional documents, see if they need any major updates, give you some feedback on it, and then we'll start reaching out to employers on your behalf. Once we find your best match, we're going to set up a time for you to interview with that company or organization. Once you interview with that company or organization, I would say about 90% of our participants get an internship offer after that first interview, because the first match does tend to be the best match. If for some reason, though, that first interview does not go well, it's not a good match, it seems super left field, that's totally fine. Then we're going to go back to the drawing board and work on your second best match. But part of the thing that I would say that AIFS asks for is, if you do have any particular interest or particular skills that you want to work on in your internship, keep us updated on that, especially as you kind of enter into your next quarter or semester. Maybe you got exposure to a specific skill set in a class, and maybe we can tackle that or add that into what we're looking for. So as I mentioned, I am your enrollment manager. I'm based in the United States. I'm actually based on the East Coast, even though I primarily work with West Coast schools. I usually work like 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to meet a little bit later in the evening, that might be a little bit tough for me, but feel free to shoot me a message asking that request. Once you are enrolled, you'll start working with Tessa, so she'll be advising you and giving you feedback on your professional documents. Peter, he is our placement coordinator. He's the one that actually meets with all the employers and vets them. So you might hear his name thrown around. You probably won't necessarily interact with him much, but you just might hear his name being thrown around, going out, looking for things and setting up interviews for you. And then Greta is currently our Dublin location coordinator. Usually we have additional staff during the summer as well that help support the program, so you might be able to reach or meet some of them as well. But Greta will also check in on your internship. She'll run the social events, the orientation. I really like Greta because she actually is Irish, knows Dublin very well, but she lived in the United States for quite a while. So she did her own study abroad experience. So she knows Americans and American culture very well, and she loves Americans. So she's just a really great resource, I think, to kind of bridge the gap between two different cultures. And then, of course, you have an internship supervisor as well. So as you may be noticing, there's a lot of parties involved here on your behalf. So once again, it's so important for you to keep us updated on what's going on in your day-to-day so that we can help you if there is ever an issue, a challenge, or you just need to talk. As Lisa mentioned, you're working 30 to 32 hours a week. This might be the first time you're working this much in a different country. That can get really stressful. We have resources for you, whether it's mental health resources, our staff can coach you, advise you, and so on. These are just two internship examples from Dublin. If you go into the AIFS Abroad website, we have additional ones as well. If you ever connect with any of the alumni from our program, they can fill you into on what things are, but usually we will give you a company description before your interview so you know what you're walking into, the type of position that they're looking for, and then we'll usually have a task list that you'll be working on. So these are usually I would say 5 to 7 tasks that you're kind of expected to do on a daily basis. It should look pretty identical to a job description. You'll get that once you're officially confirmed for your internship. And sometimes there might be a little bit of back and forth between the employer just to really distill exactly what your internship tasks are going to be. So don't be surprised if you don't get the exact job description right away, but it will definitely come before your internship program begins. So these are two, one is an international business and trade internship here. So you can take a look at that. So this person did a little bit of everything in that organization. And then this is an example of a sustainability internship. And this particular intern actually reported directly to the CEO, which was pretty cool because then that student was able to kind of see like what the business side of things were in the sustainability industry, NGOs and whatnot. So it's kind of interesting for them to do that. Your internship commute can be anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour. That's kind of a standard in any major city. We have you use the public transportation system, whether it's the street tram or the buses. Some of you might be super lucky and be able to just walk to your internship because you have more something that's like tourist or hospitality related in kind of the central area of Dublin, which is close to your housing. But some of you might need to go to more like corporate areas or like industrial parks or something like that, especially if you want to do something more STEM related. So that commute tends to be a little bit longer. If you ever have an issue with your commute, especially after interviewing, speak to us about it and we can kind of coach you through that and what that would look like. Everybody's internship does look very, very different. So I always warn students, avoid comparison for that reason, just because you all are coming from different backgrounds, you all have different qualifications, and everybody's experience is going to look very different. But at the end of the day, you will all have an international working experience that you can put on your resume and your LinkedIn. And statistically, only about 1% to 2% of Americans have that. So you are part of a special group just by doing this program. So even if it's not the perfect dream program, you are still getting something that's going to set you up really nicely for the future. Yes,
There is a
Lisa.
question, Andrew, in chat struck me. Are the internships paid? I know the
Excellent.
answer, but I think you should tell them.
Excellent question. Internships internationally are generally unpaid. Reason being, as soon as you get paid in a different country, oh boy, does the tax issues start happening, the visa issues start happening, legal issues. So we do unpaid internships because these are associated directly with your academics. So if you try to look at any other internships overseas, specifically within a career field, generally they're going to be unpaid. Occasionally, if you are interested in working abroad overseas, I highly recommend looking at like teaching abroad or doing au pair programs, maybe during the summer or post-graduation. But if you're specifically looking at doing something within your industry, those are generally unpaid. Any other questions pop up? Nope. All right. Fantastic.
Not yet. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
So this was, I believe, a group from 2 years ago. So just a quote, I think when I was there was like 26 of UCSD students that I greeted. What I really like about our program, once again, is that there's always like somebody for you to talk to, and it's just kind of cool talking to your students about where you're coming from and what you want to get out of the program. We will have like social events and day trips and excursions for you to meet with each other and connect with each other besides just your class that you're doing. So usually we'll have like a welcome dinner after the orientation. So Greta picks out one of her favorite restaurants in Dublin. Oh, that's like a little hack too. You're not on your own with like going to these restaurants. Like ask our team, like, where do the Irish like to go? Where do they like to spend their time? And they'll point you in the right direction. I think many times our students and our interns forget about that. Lean on these program experts to help you find really cool things and unique opportunities to do. And then also we'll do like these day trips where we might go up to the Cliffs of Moher or down to Limerick or Galway. There's a lot of different opportunities to do that. I did a day trip myself to Galway, which we have another internship program there, and I visited our interns. Super easy. That was actually probably the best Wi-Fi I had the entire time I was in Dublin randomly. I don't know why the train was so good, but it was. And it was easy to book tickets as well. I would recommend, just as a little side note, like when buying tickets and stuff, cash tends to be preferable with those. I had some difficult times with my credit cards and debit cards getting tickets. So just be prepared for that type of stuff, especially if you're doing things on the fly. So just a couple reminders. You need to speak to me for about 10-15 minutes. You'll have access to my calendar link inside the portal. Actually, let me go back and I'll show you where that's at. So here under my name, it says enrollment manager. There's a link that says schedule a meeting. And that will be for my current availability. If you try to book something next week, I am out of office next week. So you can't talk to me next week, but you can talk to me the following week. I'd be more than happy to speak to you.
And actually, that's perfect because then you can finish up your UC San Diego application and trainings abroad so that I can approve it before you chat with it.
Even better. I love a good system, Lisa. Now, certain career fields are limited or really competitive. Usually the more technical they are, the more competitive they are. A lot of like STEM related sort of internships, they tend to be better outside of major cities because that's where like the manufacturing, the plants are, things along those lines. So they can be kind of difficult and they are kind of limited. So I would encourage you to apply sooner rather than later if you want one of those career fields. And even still, you may not necessarily be guaranteed an internship within that career field until we actually speak to you. So you might want to be flexible. But one of the things that I do like to remind students is that international working experience. You might be a project manager internationally one day, and you might be up for a promotion to be a director, and you having these skills might actually help you with that promotion. So having that international business acumen is really important kind of in the long run because it might set you up really nicely for the future, especially if you do want to travel for part of your career. I kind of mentioned this before, but you're an intern, so you're very much so going to be learning. Some of you might be super fast learners in your workplace, and then some of you might find some difficulties or challenges just because of like navigating the cultural stuff and just the commutes and jet lag. So once again, talk to people. It is temporary. It is only 8 weeks, but it is a good learning experience. And if you do start to struggle, make sure you're speaking to us so that we can keep a record of it. And you also do need to show up as a professional for these companies. We do work with some of these companies for 10 plus years, and you are a reflection on us as well. So if you are not being professional in the workplace, that employer potentially may not want to take our interns again in the future. So you're very much so an international diplomat, and we expect you to show up that way. We talked about some of that stuff, but those are some of the pictures that our interns have taken previously. Professional development opportunities. Like I said, we do the coaching and the resume building and things along those lines. Likely housing. So we've had students at Kavanaugh Court before. It'll be something like this if we don't do this, but it's super central. Temple Bar is like the big party area. So you can see it's like super walkable. Everything you can probably want is within like a 15 to 30-minute walk. Some of our previous housing was a little bit closer to the Guinness factory, but I don't think we're using them right now. But even still, that's not a long walk. And like I said, you can always use the bus or a street tram to get around. But usually with these, you actually have your own room. That's what we've had the past couple of years. So fingers crossed that'll be the same. And then we also have like housing staff support as well. So if you have any issues, there's usually security guards there 24/7, like security videos. Sometimes they include amenities as well, like gyms, game rooms, laundry. You'll get some more information about the housing once we've confirmed how many students we expect total in Dublin next summer. So like I said, it's still up in the air a little bit about which particular housing we're going to use, but it should be something identical to this. And then here's my information. And then I'd like to open it up for what do you want to know more about, or what just sounds exciting to you? I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
All right, a few questions came in. I think this one is actually for faculty. Do you know what general education requirements will be fulfilled?
Yeah, so for those of you who are in Sixth College, 124 and 125 actually are required. The experiential learning, 124, 125, the upper division public rhetoric course. So that does take care of both of those. That said, I know that I have had students, particularly during summer sessions, who have taken the courses and they've they were able to request that it actually apply for one of their home college's general requirements as well. I'm going to do some research on that myself, just so I'm clear as to what that can cover for you all. But of course, every college at UCSD has their own requirements and, kind of what they want out of those. So the answer is for sixth, most definitely. For some of the other colleges, I think it's going to depend. But most of all, you get an internship experience out of this, and that in and of itself is going to be super valuable. Any further
Right, and
questions about that?
just following on that person also asked, does it depend on what internship you get? No, it doesn't. It's more about the courses, the two CAT courses, than what you're actively doing in the internship. So feel free to check in with your academic advisor about how it might go towards your particular major, college, etc. But because they are UCSD CAT courses, they should be able to predict that pretty easily, especially if you're in sixth college. So there's another question. If the internship is, they're coming in too fast. Monday through Thursday or Friday, when would class be held? And the faculty addressed this earlier. It's to be determined. It probably won't be Friday, but it really depends on his schedule back here in San Diego, where he's calling in from. What happened last year was a day was picked, and after the students' work day, there was enough time built in for them to get home, grab a bite to eat, and then they'd start class while it was, I don't know, I think the late morning here, or maybe mid-morning here in San Diego. So it just sort of balances out. And keep in mind that you're just going to meet one time a week synchronously, and then the other class is asynchronous.
Yeah, just that 1 hour, a week. And I am definitely thinking about you and the time difference. During the pandemic, I remember I had students who were taking courses at like 2 a.m. Definitely not what we're gonna do. So my intention is, the first week that we're there, we will probably actually meet that Friday, just since I will be in town. And I want the opportunity for us to kind of like discuss those things in person. But then over the remainder of the 7 weeks, hopefully I'll have a much better sense in the coming months about what evening that I would probably end up setting up for you, kind of an early evening sort of thing. So like Lisa said, you get an opportunity to come home, get yourself settled, and then we have that 1 hour seminar.
And I know I'm not going in order, participants, future applicants. I'm jumping around a little bit, so I apologize for that. There's a quick question that's easy to answer. Is it available for international students? Yes, any UC San Diego student is welcome to apply for this program. This is the only global seminar that isn't available to non-Tritons. So if you have friends, unfortunately, they'll have to pick a different program. This program has been offered every year for the last 3 years, and we sure hope it will continue. But all of our programs are faculty driven, so you just have to be really nice to Professor Bigham and Geibel and the team in Sixth College CAT. Okay, here's one for Andrew. Do we get to know what specific internships are available for us after we submit our applications? What if there are no internships that align with our interests? For example, if I'm looking for dental internships and there are none, what then?
Dental is a hard no, so sorry. Yeah, basically, we have specific career fields that you choose on our application, so you should get a pretty clear indicator on what is available. And then that's why we go through the internship consultation and approval process, so that if we don't have anything available, I'm going to tell you straight out, like saying like, okay, usually what we'll do is we'll say we can't approve you for these career fields or this specific career field, but we can approve you for this career field or something a little bit more general. As I mentioned earlier, this isn't a menu where we have 30 internships that you choose from. We very much so create custom internships for you. We have been working with certain companies for 10, almost 20 years in some cases, but we go out and find new internships as well. If you have a specific career field or a specific major or a specific internship type that you want, you can always forward it to Lisa and she can check in with me to see if that's available. Or if you have my contact information, feel free to reach out to me directly about that. But I've been doing this, I've been talking about internships for 7 years now, so I'm pretty blunt when it comes to what's available overseas and what's not. And dental is a hard no.
What if they're not doing any dental work? They're just, in the office.
Nope,
Still
that's
no?
not an internship. That is an
Cool.
externship. Externships tend to be more shadowing experiences and tend to be more short term. Internships
Okay.
are more hands-on. You're like basically treated like an employee of the company. Good question.
And so that actually, hopefully that answers your next question. How involved can we be in the search for internships? Is it more just preparing and doing the interview, or can we be involved searching, choosing companies? I'll give you the answer that was given in the past, in that if you see an internship that you really like, bring it to your conversation, to your initial conversation with Andrew, and that will at the very least give them an idea of what you're looking for. They can't necessarily get you that internship, but it does give them a good idea.
I have an analogy that I like to use, Lisa, for
Yeah.
students. Basically, we're kind of like your movie star agent, and you tell us what type of movies you want to film in. So you come to me and say, Andrew, I want to be in the next Star Wars movie. I say, great. So we go out, we start looking for auditions for you. But we get you an audition for a new Marvel TV series instead. So it's identical. You're still getting acting experience. You're still auditioning for something really cool, but it is not the next Star Wars movie. So we still expect you to take that internship opportunity because it is a good match for your career and then also still very relevant to potentially where you are headed.
All right. And then there was also a question earlier about how is Ireland regarding gender, sexuality, inclusivity, and diversity? Also, generally, how expensive would living daily expenses be while there? Two very different questions. I'll do the first one first. And actually that segues into everything I wanted to talk about with cost. So I pulled up our diversity and identity page on the Study Abroad site, and I jumped down to LGBTQ. And so this is just a good, these are just some general resources, and you can get a fairly decent idea of what the climate is like based on the rights. And so that's why this pulls up. So I know it's kind of hard to see on my screen, I'm sure, but Ireland definitely allows for LGBT relationships. I'm pretty sure I read somewhere else that same-sex marriage is legal. And then there is support for specifically for LGBT rights, not just a decriminalization of marriage or of relationships. And so you can investigate a little bit more there. I don't want to spend too much time diving into it here. Let me know if you, for some reason, need, for whatever reason, this isn't enough for you. And I'll see if I can't dive into my network and find out more about what life is like abroad.
I can talk about that a little bit.
Fantastic.
I'm part of the LGBTQI community. And I was in Dublin summer 2023. Pride was huge there. There's tons of flags. A lot of people were being very open about their sexuality, gender expression, and things like that. So you have absolutely no fear when it comes to that. Of course, there's occasional bullying and things like that, just like there is like in the United States and other things. But I had specifically worked with a student from rural California that was a little bit concerned about Dublin, and he had a fantastic experience there. He felt super open, and he really had a great time there. So I spoke with him on the program and after the program, and it actually made a really big impact on him. How it was his first major Pride that he had been to, and he loved it. So yeah, I would highly encourage you to go there if you're interested.
Perfect, thank you. That was always my impression, but I forgot you had been to Dublin. So thank you so much. All right, let me share again. You seem to have lost the correct window. One moment, please.
Lisa, we also have identity pages too. I don't know if you know
Oh
those,
yeah,
but
we actually we linked to some of yours and some of
Okay.
the other providers. We were not shy. Our office was not shy about big borrowing and not quite stealing. Because it doesn't matter whose resource it is. What matters is that the students have access to it.
Yeah.
All right. There it is. Okay, so let's talk about funding options. All right, so when we talk about the cost of a global seminar, we break it down into 3 categories, which my boss used to call buckets. So here they are as buckets. All right, the first one is the summer session tuition and fees. And this is exactly the same as it would be if you were taking these 8 units right here on campus. So that's about 25.15. It might go up about $10 or something. All right. The second bucket is the program fee. This includes all the housing, a couple of excursions you do, the internship matching. Sorry, I should have removed classroom from this bucket. Although you will have 1 classroom meeting with the faculty that first week. Insurance, you are going to be double insured. No, you can't opt out of one of them. As well as a LEAP card, which is the transit card to get around Dublin. So that is going to range for 8 weeks from about 7,900 to 8,200. We're still finalizing the contract and the budget. What I want you to know about these first 2 programs is that this is what will be billed by and due to UC San Diego eventually. All right. However, if you utilize financial aid, they will factor in all 3 of these categories. Okay, so they will also factor in personal expenses. So that's going to include things like plane tickets and meals and even your passport, even though you're going to get that ahead of time. You will with plane tickets too. So regarding the meals, because there's a question to me on that. There is no meal plan, but whatever your housing situation is, you will have a kitchenette or a shared kitchen with, the basic pots, pans, dishware, flatware. All right. So that you can save a little bit by making your own. You're not having to eat out at every meal. You can prep a lunch at home, bring it to the office type of thing. All right, by the way, sorry, this we estimate at about, you know what, let me double check this and get back to you guys either at the end or I'll include it in the email. I just want to double check. 3,600 is usually for the 5-week program, so it might be a little bit more for 8 weeks. I think I forgot to update this, and I just realized. But this is what we want you to budget. We do tend to estimate a little high for the out-of-pocket expenses, those personal expenses that you're paying to someone else besides UC San Diego. Because we'd rather you estimate high even for your own budget and come in low than the other and not have money for food your last couple of weeks. All right, there are a couple of billing policies to consider in timeline that we want you to know about. So I mentioned the $250 deposit earlier. It is due at the time of application, but it is not an application fee. It gets put towards the full cost, that 7,900 to 8,200, right? It is almost never refundable, which is why we call it non-refundable. The only time it will be is if you submit the application and then it turns out that you're not eligible for some surprise reason. We will return it to you in that case. If we can't accept you, then it'll be refunded, I should say. Whereas, and then if the program gets fully canceled, very unlikely to happen, it would also be returned to you. However, please also keep in mind the withdrawal deadline of March 1st, 2025. So after this date, you can expect to be charged the entire program fee, even if you withdraw. All right. So the 250 is non-refundable, even if you withdraw the very day after you submit. The withdrawal deadline, the program fee will be non-refundable after that date. If something comes up, let us know. We will advocate for you as much as possible, particularly depending on the circumstance. We might be able to get something back for you, but for the most part, be aware of this. And then the timeline, luckily, you are not going to be charged those first 2 buckets and billed to that by UC San Diego. In March, it doesn't come around, and the bill comes through, the invoice, in May. And then it's not due until a few days before the program starts. All right, here's a weird thing for this program. For special summer session, it's not normal, it's special. And for some reason, financial aid doesn't disperse until after the bill is due, but we have your back. We have a financial aid counselor. I'll talk more about him later. And he works magic and makes sure that you are not at risk for extra fees or anything like that. It all works out, I promise. I want to be upfront with that about you. All right. So yeah, for this program, the financial aid gets dispersed like a day or 2 after the bill is supposedly due, but there's a little bit of leeway there. All right, when we talk about financial aid, I want to be clear what I mean about this portion. That is grants, like the Summer Pell Grant and the UCSD grant. That's mostly what we see our global seminar participants getting. And then there's also residual loans. So if you didn't take out the full loan amount for the academic year, you should still have access to subsidized, unsubsidized. And I think no matter what, you'll have access to Parent Plus loans if you want to go that route. And then just an FYI, it also includes the CalVet fee waiver that can be used towards this program. You don't know a lot about it. You just have to do the normal processes for that one. There are some financial aid and scholarship information sessions available online. There's one that was global seminar specific that was hosted, and there's a recording online from that. And then there's been some more recent general recordings about study abroad and financial aid that are available on our website. So you can now, I believe in your ability to navigate our website, as immense as it is. When it comes to other funding resources, I will be notifying everybody who registered for this session when we have the confirmed cost. All right, so once I narrow it down from between 7,900 to 8,200, whatever it was, I will be notifying everybody on this list, whether you registered before the session or after. Although if you registered way after, then maybe it's already up on the website. Future applicants. But in the meantime, you can sort of go and see last year's list of prices to compare and get an idea for what the costs are across the board. Keep in mind that this is an 8-week program, so it's going to be a little more expensive. I mentioned Eduardo Magayan, who is our financial aid counselor who works in the financial aid office, but specifically with study abroad applicants. So he is there for you. However, there are a lot of study abroad applicants and only one of him. But once you've confirmed the study abroad program you're interested in, go ahead and reach out to him. Or if you're just trying to decide between like 2 types, that's fine too. And he can give you an idea of what you can expect in terms of financial aid for next summer based on your current award package. Summer is like a trailer, and so it's based on the previous academic year. So he can use that to do some predictive work. Can't give you the exact amount, but he can give you a really good idea. Anyway, you'll reach out to him by going to the Financial Aid and Scholarships website and going to the Contact Us, and then creating this submitting a question under this services and support portal, and just indicate that it's for study abroad and that you're interested in the Dublin Internship Global Seminar. That's just to help him identify which program and what type of budget he should be looking at. All right, I'll talk about the actual scholarships next, but I want to talk about how to prepare for them briefly. We have a series of, we have multiple writing workshops, the same one each time. In winter quarter, that's when the scholarships are due, so that's why we don't have it in fall. Students are too focused on midterms and finals by the time they're even thinking about scholarships. But if you do want early help or additional help, I feel free, please reach out to Oasis and the Writing Hub for them to get that individual one-on-one feedback. All right, we do have quite a few scholarships specific to global seminars and ones that are really great for global seminars. All right. So Kathleen Deno and Oasis are only for GS students. You don't need to submit an application. You just need to have one started to be considered. And they are planning scholarships. Although for the internships, we really recommend that you submit your application as early as possible so that Andrew and his team can start the matching process. But as you can see, so these scholarships are still being confirmed. We know they're going to happen. We just don't know the exact details about how many, what the exact amount is, and when they'll be due. I'm fairly confident that these first three will be due at the end of January, early February. And the amounts will be very similar. But I don't know the exact details. So I just want to add a grain of salt there. You can see what the requirements are on the website. I want to highlight that the study abroad office scholarship is basically one-stop shopping. We might even loop the Oasis and Deno scholarships in there. So really, you're just completing one application, and then you get considered for all these different scholarships. It already includes the college-specific study abroad scholarships and Chancellor's study abroad scholarship, which started last year and is a shiny $5,000. All right, and then finally, this one I can confirm is up to $3,000 due March 13th. The Gilman Scholarship is a national scholarship, so they've got their act together every year a little bit earlier. And if you are a U.S. citizen and Pell Grant recipient, they award hundreds of, if not thousands of these every year to students all over the country. And UC San Diego is a top producer, partially because we offer that writing workshop. Definitely throw your name in and complete an application for that one. Well, it looks like their question might have come through. No, it's just money bags. I love it. All right. All right, and then I just want to also point out some, especially financial risk management considerations for you. When it comes to airfare, wait to purchase the airfare until we confirm the program. We do need a minimum number to run. It's never been a problem before, but just in case, please wait. And then when you do, we recommend either getting a refundable ticket or getting travel insurance. I think we are all, our office is just still a little sensitive from all the cancellations in 2020, and we don't want to see that happen to anyone. Again, speaking of cancellations, if it does get canceled, you won't be charged and the $250 will be refunded. So there is no risk to you there. However, we encourage you to have a couple of backup plans, maybe ruminating for the courses, particularly if they're fulfilling any requirements, what you might do this summer instead, and when and how you might study abroad instead. And then one final note, this is less about financial risk and more about physical health. COVID is still there. We recommend you take basic precautions, particularly because we don't want you to be taken out for a full week out of your 8 weeks in Dublin. We see it pretty regularly on our global seminars still of students who unfortunately get COVID. All right, a couple final notes. This info session is eligible for credit for the Globally Engaged Triton or co-curricular record, or GET CCR. CCR is basically a transcript for the non-academics. So basically a way for you to get some credit for putting in significant amounts of time towards certain thematic activities. In this case, it's being globally engaged while still here on campus. Study abroad is study abroad, and it goes on your actual transcript in the form of courses. So this is for all those other great horizon broadening activities you do. All right, next steps for reaching me, actually, for the professor. You can get him right at his email. Andrew shared his as well with you. And so we have a mandate, or my office has a mandate to use the virtual advising center. So if you could kindly send any questions there. If you can't come to drop-ins, you can also request an appointment. Just make sure to make that clear in your request. Drop-ins are 3 days a week, Monday and Thursday from 1 to 3, Fridays from 10 to 11:30. I am usually at Thursday drop-ins. We split them across the GS team. And then Eduardo, financial aid counselor, is usually at the Fridays. So not 100% of the time, but most of the time, that's how it's broken down. And then our physical location, it's not exactly an office, but we'll occasionally have some events, hopefully a pre-departure orientation or pre or post program confirmation party at our space on Library Walk, just across from the Career Center there. If you see the door open, just keep in mind that I'm probably not there, advisors probably aren't there, but our student staff is more than happy to tell you about their experiences abroad. And that's all I've got. Any other questions? Comments or concerns? Please reiterate your question if I missed it earlier. Thanks to everybody who stuck it out and stayed the whole hour 20. We'll stick around for a couple more minutes, but thanks so much for coming. I'll stop the recording.